Hey everybody, what's up? It's about 2:35, Tuesday, September 27th, 2011. And I have talked about this numerous times already on my channel. As you can see, I'm talking about it again, mostly because as we have found out in the past 24 to 48 hours, Texas A&M has become the newest and latest team to join a new conference. Texas A&M, as many of you probably know in Aggie land, has joined the SEC. Now, potentially, this means that the Big 12 is now down to the Big 6, right? Well, that's not the case, because the four teams that we thought were going to go to the Pac-12 and make it the Pac-16 have not yet moved. Those teams being Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Texas Tech. Reason being, I guess on both sides, Pac-12 is not ready to expand anymore, and Oklahoma right now sees an opportunity to help continue the Big 12, help it continue to thrive as best they can. But you know, in this past year or two, in these past couple of years, with all this conference realignment, I mean, I can understand maybe it's due to the fact that they want more competition for the schools, more financial funding, but honestly, you know, the question is, who else is going to make the jump to another conference? Well, earlier today I went on Wikipedia, and I know some people have their doubts about that site, and I guess some people got the sources, because you know how they put these little numbers indicating where the source is from. Somebody got some sources as to which schools have been considering possible realignments into new conferences. Now this here that I'm holding in my hand was obviously posted around last year, and this year it was posted and put up around late last year and this year. And this is basically potentially, because Wikipedia has a whole page talking about the realignment, but this is sort of at the bottom of it. This is the possible changes, the possible conference realignments that could occur in the near future, because we know this conference realignment's not over as we speak. For example, the Texas Longhorns. The most likely new conference, because this is how they have it worked out, they got like this little box there. It's kind of like I can't think of the name right now. It's kind of like a patternized box or something like that. Sort of like a diagram or whatever it's called, box. And in the middle it says and on one side it says current conference. In the middle it says most likely new conference, and on the other side of that it says other possible conferences. Now, like I was saying, starting out with Texas, it states that Texas's most likely new conference is going to be the Pac-12, which will probably become a reality in the near future. But they have said that the other possibilities for Texas would be the Big Ten, the ACC, and independents. In other words, the last one, independent, meaning they could do what BYU has done. Then we get Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, and they say, again, just like with Texas, the potential new conference probably will be the Pac-12, but if not, then the other possibility could be the ACC. Oklahoma is the same way when it comes to most likely new conference, and that being the Pac-12, but the possibility, should that Pac-12 door close and remain closed, the other possibility could be the SEC. Oklahoma State's the same way. Most likely new conference could be the Pac-12 if that door remains, but if that door is closed and remains closed, then the other possibility according to this could be the SEC. Now you got to remember, these are just rumored possibilities. These are just rumored and talked about possibilities that have occurred throughout the past few years. Now the Baylor Bears, according to, I don't know if somebody did this as a joke when they put this conference as the most likely new conference, because according to the reports about when Texas A&M went to officially joined the SEC, the reason they didn't announce it right away was because they were afraid of possible lawsuit or something like that from Baylor and some other schools. But according to this, Baylor's most likely new conference, according to the people that put this together, could be the Mountain West. I seriously doubt it. I think they need to switch this around because they say the other possibility is the Big East. So I think they made a mistake here, and the most likely new conference, in my opinion, could be the Big East for Baylor, not the Mountain West. Then again, I could be wrong, because if they're planning to make the Mountain West into a BCS conference, then that would make sense, but I don't think so. Then the Iowa State Cyclones, the most likely new conference, would be the Big East, with the possibility being the Mountain West. Again, Mountain West being advertised as possible or most likely new conference for some teams, kind of tells me that there is talk, according to this list here, talk, I should say, possibly, because we've even heard it on ESPN and CBS and Fox and all that. There's been talk that the Mountain West could be, if given the opportunity, could become a BCS conference. Because they've already had some Mountain West teams being BCS games. So now, again, Iowa State's most likely new conference, should they ever decide to leave the Big 12 or the Big 9, Big 10, whatever you want to call it, would be the Big East, and the other possibility could be the Mountain West. Kansas State, same thing as Baylor and Iowa State. Most likely new conference, seriously doubt it though. Mountain West, but that all depends on if they want to build the Mountain West as a BCS conference. And then the other conference in the talks of K-State probably going to another conference should that door open would be the Big East. So Mountain West and Big East as possible conferences, and according to some, most likely new conference be Mountain West. Honestly, I think it's the most likely new conference would be the Big East. And the possible conference could be the Mountain West. The same goes for Baylor. And in Kansas Jayhawks KU, according to this, the most likely new conference, which I think is the same for Kansas State, would be the Big East. Now, the other possibilities for them, should Big East not accept them, not take the invitation, or even invite them, the other possibilities could be the Pac-12, the ACC, and the Mountain West. Again, Mountain West name coming up a lot, and this is due to the fact that they probably want to turn the Mountain West into a BCS conference. But and there has been talk about that, we know that. And then you got the Missouri Tigers. The most likely new conference, according to this, is the SEC, and if not that, then the other possibility could be the Big Ten. Again, I remind you, this is just information that people have put on Wikipedia, on the conference realignment page of Wikipedia, that they've gotten off other sources like Newsweek, Sports Illustrated, CBS, Fox, ABC, NBC, ESPN, Versus, whatever. But these are just possibilities for near future alignments. This is what many feel, from what they have heard, could happen in the near future. Again, since this whole conference realignment thing has been happening in the past few years, as of late. And then you got Connecticut Huskies. Now, as we all know, the Connecticut Huskies, along with Rutgers, have been courting the ACC, and maybe vice versa, to let them join their conference. Now, if that happens, that would be the most likely option for them, because according to this, there was no other option. Then the Louisville Cardinals and the Cincinnati Bearcats, they don't have no other possible options. According to this, the most likely new conference, should they decide to defect out of the Big East, would be the Big 12. Now the West Virginia Mountaineers, according to this, the most likely new conference could be the SEC, should they ever decide to move. But if not, then the other possibilities, according to this, could be the ACC and the Big 12. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights, according to this, the most likely new conference would be the Big 10. Highly unlikely, just like with Kansas and Kansas State earlier in the whole Mountain West deal. Instead, this should be fixed, and reversed, because the most likely new conference will be the ACC, and if not, then the other possibility would be the Big Ten. Now, Notre Dame, who's in the Big East Conference when it comes to basketball, baseball, track and field, and other sports, with the exception of football, which are an independent, according to this, the new conference, most likely new conference, could be the Big Ten, because we all know the Big Ten has been courting the football program to join their conference. Now, if that happens, then that means everything sporting-wise with Notre Dame would go to the Big Ten. My most likely thought is, if they're going to have the football program join a conference, they're just going to join the conference they're already a part of in other sports, and that's the Big East. Now, the Utah State Aggies and the San Jose State Spartans, both currently of the WAC, most likely new conference, of course, obviously, would be the Mountain West, which would be very ironic, because if they're planning to make the Mountain West into a BCS conference, that would be quite a challenge for a school like San Jose State and Utah State, because then they would have on the schedule teams like Kansas, Kansas State, Baylor, and a few others, and including the teams they got right now. So that could be something to look out for, but those are the most likely new conferences for Utah State and San Jose State, should they ever accept an invitation or extend, according to that Mountain West Conference to join. Because there's no other possibilities according to this. Now, Louisiana Tech, the La Tech Bulldogs, who are part of the WAC conference, have also been talked about of jumping into another conference in the near future. Most likely new conference, according to these sources, would be the Conference USA. The other possibility, if that door doesn't open or present itself, would be the Sun Belt. Now, going to Conference USA, you would think that's kind of a jump up. That's like getting closer to the big time. Going to the Sun Belt, that's kind of like, and I'm not trying to be mean, or anything, but going to something like the Sun Belt, that's kind of like lowering yourself even lower than you want to go. You're going into a conference in which really doesn't get that much acknowledgement. But I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm just saying that's how some people look at it. Then you got the New Mexico State Aggies, also currently part of the WAC. Most likely new conference, which I think would be a good suit for them right now because of the way they've been playing in some sports, mostly football. Sun Belt, the other possibility could be Conference USA. And then, of course, you have the Central Florida, the UCF Central Florida Knights. Current conference they're in right now is Conference USA. And according to this, the most likely conference for them to join, if they decide to jump, would be the Big East. Now, staying in the Conference USA talk, East Carolina has been, according to this, the most likely new conference with no other possibility would be the Big East. Houston, of course, would most likely new conference for the Houston Cougars would be Mountain West. Other possibilities could be Big East with all sports, as well as the Big 12. Those are the other possibilities. Marshall, also part of Conference USA. Most likely for them would be Big East, football only though, with no other possibility. The Memphis Tigers, also part of Conference USA. Big East, football only. Other option, which is the possibility, most likely Big East, but the other possibility could be Big 12. But Big East would be football only. Big 12, according to this, would take them all. The UAB Blazers, Alabama Birmingham of Conference USA, most likely new conference, if they decide to jump, would be the Big East with no other option. SMU Mustangs of Conference USA, most likely new conference would be Mountain West. Other possibility could be Big 12. UTEP Miners of Conference USA as well, most likely new conference would be the Mountain West. Temple Owls, who are football only in the MAC, would be most likely Big East optional, as football only as well. I think they've been in the Big East before, I could be wrong, so it would kind of be like going home again for Temple. Villanova right now, who's Big East in a lot of sports, except for football, which is still a FCS school, CAA if you will. Most likely move for them would be Big East overall, so they would take the football program up into the Big East. Sam Houston State Bearcats, according to this, most likely they would go from the Southland Conference of FCS, the Southland Conference of Division I AA, if you will, FCS, and they would probably end up in the WAC. Same with the Lamar Cardinals, possibly end up in the WAC. Same with the Montana Grizzlies, the Montana State Bobcats, Sacramento State Hornets, Cal Poly Mustangs, UC Davis Aggies, North Texas Mean Green of the Sun Belt, Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns of the Sun Belt. Those teams that I've all mentioned, from, like I said, from Sam Houston State all the way down to the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette, all would be considered a jump into the WAC, right off the into the WAC, should they ever decide to join. Of course, you got some Division AA, you got some Division II teams that would go 1AA if they decide to jump. You got North Alabama Lions jumping from the Gulf South Conference of Division II into Ohio Valley Conference. Northern Kentucky Norse of the GLVC Conference Division II jumping to the Summit or Atlantic Sun or Ohio Valley Conference. Then you got the Jacksonville State Gamecocks of Ohio Valley Conference, FCS. The other possible jump could be most likely Sun Belt. Other option would be the WAC. The Clemson Tigers, of course, and the Florida State Seminoles both are in a situation to where, should they decide to jump from a conference to another, it'd be them jumping from the ACC to the SEC. And then you got the Appalachian State Mountaineers. They would be making a huge jump. Instead of going to WAC, instead of going to the WAC, or instead of going independent, or even going to the Sun Belt, the huge jump would be to Conference USA, and that's the Appalachian State Mountaineers, the team that beat Michigan in the Big House a few years back. Then the Richmond Spiders, who are Atlantic 10 Conference, except for football, well, they're in the CAA. All sports, if they were to jump into another conference in Division 1A, basically the FBS, BCS conferences and all that, they would probably be making the biggest jump, because they'd be ending up out of the FCS and into the FBS, BCS conference of Big East. That would be the Richmond Spiders. Air Force Falcons, according to this, most likely new conference would be the Big 12. The other possibility would be the Big East, should they leave the Mountain West. Navy and Army, both of the Patriot League in sports except for football, well, they're both independents. According to this, most likely conference with no other option would be the Big East. So those are just the conferences, those are just some of the teams listed as possible rumors for near future conference realignments, according to the sources that people put on according to the sources that were put on the Wikipedia page by many people. Now, a lot of these sources, like I say, come from Fox Sports, obviously, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, ABC, Versus, you name it. But the question is, will some of these come alive? Will some of these come true? I can't really say if they will or not. You know, I mean, you see the Mountain West Conference mentioned a lot as a possible jumping on point, basically, for a school to go to a new conference. That could be, the reason could be, like I said, is they've been talking about building up the Mountain West possibly as a future BCS conference school. That could be something to look at and pay attention to in the near future, but we can't really say yay or nay about that. And then you got a few teams that have been mentioned about possibly going to the Big 12, so that could help, especially now with Oklahoma State, Texas, and Texas Tech staying put. That could really help out if some of those teams that were mentioned as possible Big 12 candidates in the near future could jump over and keep the Big 12 alive while being part of the conference. But yeah, just a lot of teams, and again, I know some people don't take the information off Wikipedia very seriously, but these are just rumors right now, of possible rumors and talks right now that people have been discussing over the past few years, ever since Colorado and Nebraska and Utah and now Pitt and Syracuse and now Texas A&M all jumping conferences, all jumping into new conferences in the next few years or currently. So these are just possibilities. I can't really say whether any of them will come true or not, but if you want to comment down below, let me know. MJ Knight of MJ Knight Productions, you want to put your 2 cents into a video response if you like. And just tell me what you all guys think. Do you agree with some of these? And that's all I'm going to say, and I'll talk to you all later.